Suhad, impressed, reached out to help me to my feet, then took out a small mirror from the sheer garment she wore. She seemed to be directing the sun's rays toward one of the boats gliding along the river, and I watched as it changed its course toward us. It was quite beautiful, made of cedar wood, not the papyrus bundles typical of the smaller boats. I wondered if Egyptian arsonists could be called papyromaniacs, but quickly dismissed the idea. The boat was approaching. Its crimson canopy was decorated with figures of birds and other classic figures we know from archaeological excavations. The craft entered the shallows and dropped its sail. Suhad gestured me forward, and we splashed up to some little stairs that the men extended toward us and boarded the boat. There were 4 dark, smooth-skinned men managing the ship, all of them bare-chested and mystified by my sudden appearance. "Take me home," Suhad ordered, and they immediately obeyed. Clearly, she was a woman to be respected and admired, I thought, stealing glances at her lissom figure. She gestured for me to recline on a cushioned bench under the canopy and gracefully positioned herself next to me. One of the men approached with a palm leaf fan, but she waved him away, for the winds now gently caressing us on the Nile were cool enough. The sails of Suhad's schooner whipped above us in the breeze as we made for the far shore. The city grew closer, and its many monuments loomed against the sky. A huge statue of the great king bestrode the near shore as we approached.
"His palace is like another city entirely,"
Suhad said in a low voice.
"Enormous beyond belief."
Enormous beyond belief, yeah, you could say that. Behind his sculptured stone skirt, Ramses Schlong would have been the size of my personal jet cruiser. Wait a minute, I told myself. Calm down. He's not that big. You've been to the museums. You've seen the mummies. That's when these Egyptian fighters showed up out of nowhere, leaping up and flashing spears. They got one oarsman right away, right through the heart. But the other boys were up to the challenge, like they'd been through this before. Of course, I joined in, ripping a spear out of the hands of one of the attackers as he thrust it at me, whacking him upside his head and off into the water. One of Suhad's men grabbed a length of rope and whipped it around another fighter to immobilize him, then delivered a devastating kick to the groin. Then I turned to see Suhad simply staring at one of the attackers. He was frozen in his tracks, a bizarre smile on his face. As I watched him, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The guy's skin was shrinking up before my eyes. I heard crackling sounds as his skin turned gray and dried up, adhering to his bones. He shrank into a folded-up shell of a human, toppled into the water, and floated there like a tree branch. Indeed, Suhad was not someone to take lightly. That's when it struck me. If I could get her back to the future, we could do a mummies or a startup. But wait, we'd need bodies, lots of bodies, hundreds of them. I shelved the idea and got back to whacking attackers in the head with an oar. Whacking attackers. Good name for a rock band. But I had to shelve that idea too, as the fight was about over, which was too bad. I do some of my best thinking in brawls. Newton, on the other hand, he needed a tree. By this time, we'd somehow made our way to the dock. Suhad's retinue was waiting there with an elegant litter, carried by 4 more men. We leapt from the boat onto the conveyance, and the bearers took off, sprinting onto a huge, thickly peopled thoroughfare, lined with giant palm trees shading the avenue on each side, and within, a verdant central divide. Here they slowed to a brisk walk. The full heat of the Egyptian summer had enveloped us like an out-of-control sauna. We passed great sandstone temples and magnificent public buildings, then turned into an area of smaller streets where private estates hid behind tan walls. The calls of strange birds filled my ears, avian cries I'd never heard before. "What was all that ruckus at the docks about, sweetheart?" I finally asked. I realized my communication skills were becoming more nuanced. I was slipping into my normal style, that of a hard-nosed but subtly elegant man of the world, the kind that can handle himself in a tough spot and whom women find irresistible. A guy who's up to speed and yet has that weathered look. You might call me wabi-sabi technorati. But you don't have to. I'm easy that way.
There are those,
Suhad sighed.
who seek my life. The court of the great king is a place of ruthless intrigue. You must watch what you say and to whom you speak, Limu.
Call me Ashalim, I said. Or just Ash. My friends call me Ash, and that's what I hope you and I will be. But why would anyone be out to kill someone as lovely as you? Suhad blushed. Hard to see given her maple syrup complexion.
Thank you, but for me, appearances mean little. It is the heart I care most about. But in our land there is a man, a good man, who has fallen into disfavor before the king whose name I cannot speak. My admiration of him is known, and so my life has become cheap to those seeking to curry favor before the king whose name I cannot speak.
Well, your life just increased in value as long as I'm around anyway. By the way, isn't there some way we can shorten that name? Couldn't we call him Mr. Big or the R-Man? I mean, do you really think he's a god?
Well, he is goddish, but yes, Mr. Big is acceptable to me, just between you and I.
Great.
Limu, you must be in shock. You have lost your companions and have been attacked twice this day. You must rest and recover. We are coming to the home of my family, where you will be our guest and safe. Put all other thoughts out of your mind for now.
I will try, and thank you, Suhad, but I must ask a question. We just fought together. I couldn't help noticing your technique. How did you...
Technique? Oh, I don't know what... Oh, you mean that poor man. He seemed to have some disease that attacked him, didn't he?
She smiled a distant smile that told me what I'd seen was not a fit topic for discussion. I let it drop for the time being.